Hello everybody, Caden here today with another episode of our Zoo Series 1.16, whatever you want to call it thing. I know that's basically how I've been introducing it each time. And that's because, I'll be honest, I don't really feel like the series has a name yet, even though yes, it has a name technically, but whatever. Anyway, any hoozle, we are back as always, and today, well, I always want to be like, oh, look, we've got this surprise build. We don't have a surprise build. What we have is a build you guys know because of the title and thumbnail. So let's quit dilly-dallying and just get into it. We are building a Snow Leopard exhibit today. Now, usually we have a bit more of an intro before I do the first cut. But I actually, for those of you who have been wondering where the content was, I've been gone for about a week on a trip, and have been away from my computer since then. So I actually didn't do the prep work I was going to do on this exhibit beforehand, which means I'm going to probably do a fair amount of the early terrain work first, and then I'll bring you guys back in and show off the kind of idea we're going with. So I'm going to do that, and I'll bring you guys in just a second. Alright, so we actually have a plan for the exhibit now, and it looks terrible. I'll be honest, at the moment, but I think maybe this will look absolutely fantastic as soon as we actually get some stuff in here, of course. So the basic idea is, and believe it or not, once again, what exhibit was it that I did the research for? I don't remember. It may have been lions, or no, it wasn't lions. What was it? Was it the reptile house I was doing research? I don't remember. Recently, I've actually been doing research like people used to recommend me to do. And I was looking at a lot of snow leopard exhibits, right? And I'll be honest, most of them are incredibly boring. Most of them are very much, well, and I get why, but most of them tend to be these big mesh boxes. And I get that because at the end of the day, the snow leopard, like most other leopards, or with you have a similar problem with jaguars, is that they're arboreal creatures, or well, not arboreal strictly, but they're very much climbing animals. So you kind of need to put them in a box so they can't climb out. And I'm sure the same is even worse with a snow leopard, since they're more adept at climbing rocks, which is usually what you can use to keep an animal from climbing out of something. So yeah, but I did find a couple of cool exhibits which had some really impressive rock work, kind of coming all the way back to the enclosure. And they did have some sort of roofing. Now, if we were using Zawa, we would have our very lovely, amazing glass slab blocks. Now, unfortunately, we're not playing the Zawa, so I don't have those, which means this isn't going to be covered, more than likely. This is just going to be somewhat of a regular, well, exhibit look. But you know what? I think it'll be a-okay. Also, if you're wondering why there's all this lime green concrete, I was suggested by someone to try using a different block and then using this to switch out for a lot of the rock work and textures, because that'll kind of make things a bit easier, and I do 100% agree with that, which is why I've gone with this. They didn't say lime green, but the reason I went for that is just because it's super bright, which kind of obnoxiously so, but that means, I guess on the other hand, it'll be really easy to tell all the areas where I want rocks, which is a mostly good thing. But yeah, we're gonna have a lot of slopes up here. We do have this really cool winding pathway over here. I'm not sure if there's another animal that's going over here. Maybe there will, maybe there won't, but we'll probably put another small viewing area here. I want this one to be kind of enclosed. We got a couple of small viewing areas here and here, although that one might get covered up. And of course, we have this one over here, which connects back into our South American area, which we'll work on eventually. Don't worry, it's not gone and dead yet. I just haven't really had the inspiration to go build a South American animal in a little bit. But anyway, let's get to work on this. All right, I think that is just about what I want for the rock work. I think that's gonna look pretty good. Also, I completely forgot to mention, so obviously, you know, we've got quite a tall little rock face here. So I think one of my plans is we're basically gonna have this kind of trail off kind of around back here, and I don't know exactly where it's going to end, but I think that rock wall there is basically going to be the back of this section of the zoo. So like all the South American stuff will just kind of run along this same rock wall. And I mean, if you've seen in previous zoos, we've done this before as well, where one like rock wall or fence or exhibit basically just kind of takes up the entire border for two reasons. One, it's a nice little backdrop, and number two, it means I don't have to do any decorations behind the wall, because realistically, you're not really ever meant to go, you're never meant to see beyond it, so it kind of works well as an illusion to making you think there's more when there really isn't. But yeah, anyway, I think that's looking pretty good. So what I want to do now is go down to like that, and then let's just head right over here, and then we'll build up like that, and then second position, and then we can do slash replace Biome underscore concrete, and then we need to do what is it? It's percentage, isn't it? So we'll do, let's say 30% stone, comma, what else do we want? 20% andesite, probably. Where is the percent sign? I can't type to save my life. And then we got another 20% or 30% we can throw in. So let's do 15%. Cobblestone, right? That's a big one. Cobblestone, and then we'll throw the last 15% in as something else. What would I like to do? Let's see. Do we have like any? I could do gravel, I guess. I think I had. You know what? We're just gonna do this, and then we'll do. Yeah, undo. Oh, well, I guess we don't have to because it didn't fire. I had some block, dark andesite. Okay, I want to try that out and see how that looks. Dark underscore. All right, what mod is that from? That's probably, you know what? Let's actually figure out what mod this is from. Dark andesite. Peru Mod. Okay, that's what it is. So now we just do Peru Mod, dark andesite. All right, and voila, just like that. That is surprising how much time that has saved me. That looks pretty good. Well, there's a bit of a jump here, and that's mostly because somewhere between me starting to work on the rock wall and finishing this, I must have hit my stop record button, because there's way more progress here than I really meant. So this episode's gonna be way shorter than expected, so yay. Anyway, what did I do? What did we get done? Okay, so for starters, I got the rock walls finished up. Well, not 100%, I mean, probably still need a bit of stuff, kind of like, like that, and grab like a stair or something like that, and just kind of chuck it like that, and if I can fly again, kind of do some bits and bobs just like this, and there we go. Now we're at pretty much a finished state with it. So yeah, I got the interior rock walls done. It's looking pretty amazing. Got lots of cool dynamic shapes. I think it's gonna make a fantastic exhibit. And second of all, I did 2 of the viewing areas. Now, if you're familiar with my previous zoo, the main big one, the big one everyone saw. I say everyone in quotation marks. I built a snow leopard exhibit there, and it was abysmal. I don't think there's anyone who would say it was a fantastic build or anything. It was quite terrible, and one of the big reasons for that was the viewing areas. I kind of fixed it later when we did our panda exhibit and a couple of the others, but I think here, considering I don't have as many blocks for this as I would like to have had, I think I pulled off something that I actually like way more. I think both of these fit far more with the aesthetic I was going for than most of the previous ones I built did. I think it does help somewhat that we have these cool paper lanterns that really help sell the effect, I think. But I think this has got kind of a cool thing. It technically should be much more Tibetan, and I think I've kind of got like a mixture of Chinese and Tibetan, and maybe a bit, I'll be honest, I could not pin it down to exactly what this is based on. It's just got that general feel, but I think that's kind of just what I wanted for this build. It didn't need to look exactly like one type of architecture. It just needed to have the right feel. Now you might be like, oh, well then this one looks pretty plain. It does, and that's kind of the point, because I'm kind of thinking, well, actually we'll get some lime concrete or something here in a second. I was trying to figure out which one I wanted to do as the covered walkway or viewing area, and I think I've kind of landed on this one being that. So yeah, basically it not being super ornate is more than okay, because it's going to get, for the most part at least, covered up, which is fine if I'm gonna, you know, kind of leave it like this. So it'll work fine, just okay, and not really be all that big of a deal, which is okay. Like, yeah, we'll just kind of mess around with this for a second. Just kind of trying to somewhat, maybe, I don't know if you guys would believe me here, pad for time, so this video is not just like 8 minutes long. But that's good. We've got a nice little viewing area in here, and then of course we'll have this one, which is probably just going to be more akin to what we have up here with the Jaguar. I might not put a railing on top of it, but it'll just kind of be a small wooden pole with some glass. So we can actually set that up real quick. So it may even just be something as simple as this. And we can maybe even just take these polished black stone slabs just to kind of add a bit of a unifying color to it. I think that's not too bad at all. Now, one thing we definitely need are some fences, because, well, I was thinking of going for a fence here, but I'm kind of thinking now could, in theory at least, in theory, does this line up? It does not. Okay, so we'll have to figure out what we're doing. Well, yeah, we could put a fence there. I could just put another rock wall, and maybe that's what we will do. I'm trying to look, though, because I don't want to have exhibits that are all just rock walls, or too many of those. And I don't think we actually have an exhibit yet that is just rock wall, which is making me think, you know what? It'll be okay if we do it for this one. Plus, at least kind of thinking out loud here, right? This exhibit is obviously somewhat, and it's obviously never going to be enough for the people, like those people in the comments who are like the super realists, who are like, oh my gosh, you didn't, you know, get exactly the plants or whatever in the exhibit. But since this is going for somewhat more of a Himalayan feel with how I'm setting it up, having this like this might better kind of convey that feeling. So I'll just quickly throw this together, and then we can run our rock distribution color command again, and that should solve the issue. Fortunately, it's kind of requiring me to remove, by the way, I don't know what mod this is from, but we have these gold trapdoors, and they actually, I can probably just like look it up like that. Redstone? Oh, okay, that means it's just not going to tell you what mod it's from. But we have these gold trapdoors, and they are perfect for this build. I'm actually I think they're probably one of my new favorite things I've just found for doing builds like this. So we'll probably revisit them when we come back to do our panda exhibit and go from there. But for now, at least, they will work perfectly for our little snow leopard exhibit. And you know what, maybe we'll just remove those two just to kind of keep it from going all the way to the top there. And subsequently, part of me thinks what I might do actually is bring the trapdoor back on this side. Like that. Okay, that's better. But yeah, now we got this rock wall here, and that's gonna look pretty good, I will say. What do we need to do? So we need to go like that. And then we can just kind of go to like, we'll just make a little pillar up, and lime concrete. And that should have taken care of those for the most part. Yep, it did. And that is absolutely beautiful. That's actually really nice looking, I think. It's got a really cool look to it. Part part of me thinks I have too much viewing in this area, and that might be the case. Part of me also thinks having two super ornate viewing areas like this might be a bit repetitive and not the best idea, but at the same time, I really love both of them and I don't want to destroy either, so... Well, I guess I should get started on detailing these rocks. So that should be a good selection of stuff, I guess? I don't really know. Also, I've just now thought about this, right? So, I've got stuff to make a tree. If I could speak English, similar, in fact, to the tree in the tiger exhibit. What I've just remembered, and is somewhat crucial to snow leopards, is they live high in the Himalayas, where there really aren't many, if any, trees. Well, I'm sure they probably go down to the more wooded parts during, like, the winter months or whatever, but they do tend, at least whenever you see them in documentaries, to be up in the mountains where no trees really are. So maybe for the sake of a most minuscule amount of continuity, I will attempt, mind you all, to not put too many well, actually, if any, I will try to avoid putting a single tree in an exhibit, which is essentially unheard of for me, but you know what, we're gonna give it a try. And you know what, maybe that'll be a true sign of how far I've come as a exhibit builder, right? Because if I can make it look good without a single tree inside of it, I've gotten somewhat better. All right, but let's just make some small little foliage clumps. That was a, oh, what is, there's a word. I know there's a word for when you say either multiple adjectives or stuff like that all mean the exact same thing, but you still put them together in a sentence. Like, you know, it's kind of like pointless. It's like a tiny little bush. It's like, well, one of those words is not necessary because you know, you've already got a description of size that denotes a object of minuscule proportions, so adding more words that describe that doesn't really do anything for the sentence. Why am I starting to sound like an English teacher? English grammar lessons with Caden while he attempts to build exhibits in Minecraft. Now doesn't that sound like a $1 trillion idea, eh, people? No, honestly, if I saw that, I'd be like, well, actually, I just did it, so I guess, you know what? Well, we tried. It's been a good run, people. Time to just delete everything I've ever made and restart, you know? Just completely disassociate myself with the fact I'm doing grammar that I haven't had to do in years while playing a game where I'm literally just placing various shades of green and gray to make an exhibit for a digital animal in a game that is not about making zoos. But you know what? We're not gonna think too hard about that because I might go insane if I think too hard on that. All right, I think that's enough bushes. We're gonna throw some flowers in. Now, you might be like, that's too many flowers. And I would counter with, you're probably right. However, I don't know how many of these are gonna look good. So I kind of just figured, right, like if we just get a bunch of them, we can kind of, these, okay, they've got particle effects. Flowering rush. Okay, so that apparently won't work on grass. And cornflower. I don't want to use the cornflower because I think we use blue too often. These three here seem to work pretty well though. Okay, and those lotus flowers. Again, someone is probably going to be marginally annoyed that for some reason I'm using all the incorrect flowers and gonna be like, oh, what are you doing? But you know what? You know what? I have fun here and I place all the flowers I think are pretty because you know what? That's just the kind of person I am. We pick all the fun flowers that are kind of cool, and especially the ones that have particle effects, because particle effects are awesome most of the time. Sometimes they're kind of annoying. I'm also just thinking, I am going to throw a bit of bamboo in here, which some people may say, well, that's kind of cheating because you said you weren't going to do any trees. And I take that and I reply with, yes, but I'm not going to count bamboo as a tree. And B, it'll add a bit of vertical height to the green that I do think is at least somewhat necessary. We're not going to go as over the top with it as we did in the tiger exhibit or the panda exhibit in the future, whenever I get around to that. But I do want a bit because it will also kind of, and again, something that will annoy certain people, which I find funny, because that this annoys or bothers some people. They're like, oh, why don't you build more realistic exhibits, based precisely on the animal's environment? And I think I may have talked about this already before, but it's been an age and a half since I made a video, so I don't remember. And my response every time I hear that is, well, at least I don't know if I replied to that in the comments. I don't know if I do. I think usually I just don't bother replying to those ones because I'm like, is it worth spending energy replying to that kind of comment? Not really, so I'm not going to. But especially when it comes to zoos, the animals don't really care what kind of environment they're in the enclosure. It could be look exactly like what they live at or live what their habitat looks like where they're from. It could look like a fantasy castle. As long as it's got all the stuff they need, they don't really care all that much, which makes sense. I mean, like your dog doesn't care that it lives in a house, even though, its ancestors lived out in the woods or on the Great Plains or whatever, So animals tend to be okay as long as, they've got food, they've got water, they got a nice place to sleep, they've got some privacy. So I kind of tend to apply the same idea to zoos, to the zoos I built, is that thing of, well, the look of it's more for the visitors, less for the animal. So if I'm happy with how it looks, that's all that really matters. But yeah, I am gonna try to do at least some smaller bamboo stalks. We're not gonna go as kind of overgrown as we did last time. And even those 2 clusters might be enough. I think, well, let's go here. Okay, that's pretty good from there. And from up here, I think we could do with 1 cluster back here a bit. Kind of put 1 there and kind of make like a little bit of a valley type thing. Oh, and that one doesn't need anything else to kind of stop it growing. And we'll just kind of place some more string on top, and we'll make that one a bit taller so that way there's a bit more kind of like you can see from here. And oh, we've got this one here as well. And let's take a look from over here. Not too bad, although I will say actually this one does need to be a bit taller, and that actually kind of means we probably want to throw at least 2 more in here to kind of get a bit of a height difference kind of established. I think, let me kind of see. Yeah, that's a bit better, just because otherwise it just doesn't look quite right. Anyway, now what we're going to do is place some grass. And actually, natural decor mod. I think people were asking about where I got these from last time. But yeah, that's the mod I've gotten them from apparently. I want to place a couple of these around. Also, I've just realized there's no water in this enclosure, so let's fix that. And I think as per normal, I'm just gonna kind of like I don't think I'm gonna make like a very complex water thing. I'm just gonna make like a little basin basically where the water would be. I'm sure, much like other big cats, it would probably be fine with, like a nice pond or something like that. But I don't know, I don't feel like building a massively detailed pond right now, so I'm not going to, even if it would probably look a little bit cooler. We can do a couple more outcroppings, and I think this is actually a much better idea than just placing necessarily tons of greenery, because it'll add all the extra bits and bobbins we need without kind kind of, well, also kind of maintaining that mountainous kind of look we want. Like that, you see? See what I'm talking about? Place that on top of that, not there. You know, it kind of keeps this very rocky area look going. And that'll be kind of good. I don't want too many over in this area necessarily, because I think this will look better kind of looking a bit more kind of barren for rocks. Like it's a bit more of a lush part of the area or exhibit. And I want to get rid of these white flowers. We just want we want the colors I specifically picked, and then we can kind of just place some more stuff around. And not all of this is going to stay, obviously. Some of it will disappear when I do the command to, what is it called? Change up the ground textures a bit. Whoops, we don't want to delete the grass. Let's place that back. Place a bit more of that. And then get a bit kind of just going down in this area. Again, removing all the stuff we don't need. And let's go into this, the viewing areas. That's actually pretty much spot on what I would like from this. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so we got this one looking about what it needs to look like. This one, I think for this, because we already have such kind of like a dense area back here, having a bit more grass back there is gonna look a bit better. And we'll just chuck a little bit more in between the bamboo. And let's take another look from here. Yep, that's much better. Okay, so now let's fly over here and take a look. Need more down here. And in fact, I think the bigger thing would just be making a lot more tall grass over in that section, just to kind of make it look a bit more overgrown. Like there's, you know, a bit more moisture being trapped here or something. And that's better, okay. And then walking all the way down to here. Perfect, absolutely amazing. So, without further ado, we can spawn a couple, oh wait, no, there is one last thing I need to do. Forgot about that. We can start here, I guess. It doesn't really matter all that much. Oh, and another area actually. Kind of forgot to do any up here. So once again, right by the edges, we'll just kind of throw some stuff. Now people might be like, once again, might be like, oh, snow. But since this is, you know, down in what we could assume to be a semi-temperate environment, I know I've switched that up to savanna, but I wanted to, more for the look of the grass than anything else. I don't want to do too much snow over here because I don't think that's going to look as realistic, oddly enough. But yes, let's quickly make a little dirt thing and second position. I need to get my command. Let's see. There we go. Okay. 146 blocks replaced. Whoops. Okay, that is, I forgot I keep messing up and not replacing grass with grass block and grass block. Okay, that is what I wanted to happen. And then of course, you know, we have to quickly run around and pick up all the poor plants that unfortunately were not lucky enough to have ended up in the right area. And therefore, kind of survived. Let's kind of repopulate. There's a few areas where there's definitely going to need to be a bit more of repopulation of plants. Kind of like around here, probably. Although I think for the most part that turned out pretty well. Let's take a look back down here. Oh, and that's even better. It is kind of funny just how by like making a more varied ground texture, it just dramatically improves the look of the build. Let's get rid of the dirt pillar over here, and spawn in our snow leopards. So 1, 2, And I'll spawn a third one in over here so we can kind of get a look. So from here, pretty good. From down over here, fantastic. Can't, oh, there's one right there. Okay, I was like, I can't see any of them. And then over here, another wonderful little view. That's a rock, not anything important. And of course, from up here, oh, this is actually, I mean, I love the design of these two things, but I think this might be my favorite way to look into the enclosure. That is really cool. Pretty happy with this. But anyway, I think that's all for today. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this exhibit. Sorry you guys didn't get to see as much of the build because I lost. Well, I just accidentally hit don't record. But yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this, feel free to let me know, and let me know what animal you guys would like to see next. Until next time, though, see ya.